Alright guys, welcome back to my new video. A lot of people asked me recently if they should rather go for the Sigma 30mm 1.4 or the 56mm 1.4 from Sigma. And I wanted to do this video to help you guys out in making a decision, because when I started photography I saw a lot because there's so many different lenses, and there's also the Sigma trio, which is involved with the Sigma 60mm 1.4, the Sigma 30mm 1.4, and also the Sigma 56mm 1.4. And I actually own the Sigma 30mm 1.4 and here the 56mm 1.4. And yeah, these lenses are both incredibly sharp and also they perform great with a great autofocus, but which one should you choose now? So that's why I wanted to do this video. And first of all, I wanted to talk about the pros and cons from both lenses. And at the end of this video, I'm also giving you my honest opinion on which one would I choose if I would start over and if I only had the choice between one of them. So I hope you enjoy this video, guys, and I would say we also start straight away with the Sigma 30mm 1.4. So basically, and here you can see the box again, guys. So this is the Sigma 30mm 1.4 box, and up here you can also see that this lens has been released in 2016. So this was the first out of the 3 Sigma lenses which has been released. And what I like about this lens is definitely the price, because this Sigma lens is the cheapest out of all of them. And I remember when I started photography 2 years ago, I was so broke, and especially with the a6000, I spent all my money on it, and it was like around 400 euros and I had around 550 euros to spend. So I got the a6000 and I was still looking for a cheap lens, which is also good in low light. So that is why I went for the Sigma 30mm 1.4, and I scratched all my money together and then I got it. And yeah, this lens is great because it's so cheap. And another great feature about the Sigma 30mm 1.4 is definitely that it's a great all-rounder lens, because when you think about it, there are a lot of telephoto lenses and wide-angle lenses, but sometimes you also want to have a great all-rounder lens, which is good for any situation. I mean, there's no perfect lens, but when you start out and when you're a beginner, you don't want to pay like so many of your coins on so many lenses. So with the Sigma 30mm 1.4, you have definitely a great all-rounder lens, which you can use, for example, here in your YouTube studio, or when you're, for example, doing portrait photography. You can use this lens pretty good. And because it was my first prime lens, and I can just say, guys, I did around 100 photo shoots with this lens, and what I like a lot is definitely the sharpness, and it's also really good with the autofocus. I mean, it's not the best autofocus in the world. I mean, it's a third-party lens, but still it's not too bad. And this is something, when you think about the price, is pretty good actually for 320 euros. But guys, there are also some cons with the Sigma 30mm 1.4, and definitely one thing I have to mention, guys, when you get this lens is that it has no weather sealing. And when you compare it to the Sigma 56mm 1.4, weather sealing is actually pretty good, because I did some photo shoots in the rain and I always use a plastic bag, but I wish I would also have a lens with weather sealing, because then the risk isn't so high that you get water into your sensor. And it can happen so quickly that it rains. I mean, a lot of cameras, I mean, a couple of raindrops are fine, but imagine yourself shooting in the rain and then, yeah, your camera and your lens is damaged because there was no weather sealing. So this is something you have to bear in mind, that the Sigma 30mm 1.4 has no weather sealing. And another con, and this is actually the case with all Sigma trio lenses, is that there is no image stabilization. And for me, honestly, I take just simple video here in my YouTube studio, or if I do video, I do handheld and then I use stabilization with DaVinci Resolve. So for me, it's not a big problem. But if you're a photographer or videographer out there who does a lot of handheld footage and who has also the SONY a6000, and yeah, if you have the chance, I would definitely go for a lens I would definitely go for a camera which has in-body stabilization, if you're, for example, a filmmaker, or at least get a gimbal. But yeah, with the Sigma 30mm 1.4, there's no image stabilization, so be aware that when you get it, you will have definitely a lot of shaky footage if you don't hold your hands tight to your body. So this is something you have to know. On the other hand, guys, we have here the 56mm 1.4, and this was my third prime lens I got, and here again you can see that this lens has been released in 2018. So this is actually the latest model out of the three from the Sigma trio, and this lens is a bit heavier than the Sigma 30mm 1.4. So this lens weighs 280 grams, and it's actually not a big difference, but if you are into a lens which is a bit lighter, you are definitely better off with the Sigma 30mm 1.4. But to be honest, you don't really notice a huge difference when you hold both in your hands. But yeah, it's interesting to know definitely that this lens is a bit heavier, although it actually looks a bit smaller. So this is something you have to know. And yeah, this lens is definitely a lens which has insane bokeh. And that's why I also got it, because I actually had the 85mm 1.8 from Sony. And I wanted to get this lens because it's known for being a very sharp lens, and also it's a 1.4, so you get a mid telephoto lens, and also this one is insanely sharp. And when I photoshoot with this lens, I also noticed that the autofocus performs a bit better than from the 30mm 1.4. And I can imagine, because it's also a newer lens, they also improved the autofocus. So with this lens, you definitely have a great autofocus, and it's also very sharp. And recently I've been photoshooting a lot with the 56mm 1.4, and my models love especially the bokeh and the shadow depth of field, which you can get a lot with the Sigma 56mm 1.4. But there's also something you have to know before getting the 56mm 1.4. And basically what you have to know is that I notice it's not the best all-rounder lens, or a lens which is so versatile, because when you are, for example, here now in your YouTube studio, and if you put it onto your a6000, it's almost impossible to record here in my room because of the focal length. So this is something I dislike, because the 30mm 1.4 is more versatile. I can use it in my YouTube studio or when I take portraits outside. So the Sigma 56mm 1.4 is more of a outdoor lens, and this is something I noticed after taking a lot of portraits outside. Inside, it's not the best choice. So it depends, but also in what you want to do. So of course it's good inside if you are doing kind of portraits and where you know you have a lot of space, then it's good. But if you are putting it onto your tripod right now, and yeah, then it's definitely not the best option. But everyone is different and everyone has his own opinion. So I might be wrong. Maybe you are on a different opinion and you can use it in your room. But for video in my room, it's not the best one. But in general, if you are looking for a lens with shadow depth of field, this one is definitely a great choice. So you probably ask yourself now, should you rather go for the Sigma 30mm 1.4 or the Sigma 56mm 1.4? And to be very honest here, guys, and I thought about this yesterday evening, I think it depends, because every lens has its pros and cons, and I mean, every lens is also good for that situation and for that situation. So it's really up to you and what kind of photography you want to do. If you're, for example, more into portrait photography, and if you know you want to take portraits of friends or models, then I would definitely go for the Sigma 56mm 1.4 and spend that more, that $100 more. That's what I would definitely do if you are really into portrait photography and you know you're going to stick with photography like outdoor. Then I would definitely go for the 56mm 1.4. But if you're an absolute beginner and if you have no clue on lenses, and if you're kind of also unsure about what kind of style you want to do in the future, or if you're on a tight budget like I was 2 years ago, I would definitely go for the Sigma 30mm 1.4. It's very, very good. It has great value. The autofocus is great. It's not the best in the world, but it's still actually not too bad for the a6000. So that's why I would go for the 30mm 1.4 if you're on a tight budget. And if you ask me, guys, I would definitely, if I had the choice between one of them, I would probably go for the Sigma 30mm 1.4, because I'm a rounder photographer. I like to do a lot of video also when I photoshoot outdoor or indoor. So I would definitely go for this 30mm 1.4. It was my first prime lens and I feel like I didn't do a mistake, because if I would have gone for the 56mm 1.4, doing videos in here wouldn't be possible. So yeah, that's why I went for the 30mm 1.4. But it's really up to your preferences and what you want to create. But at the end of the day, guys, it's behind the person behind the camera. It's so important to know that lenses are just lenses, and you can do photos with any lens you want. It's up to you about what kind of style you have, and yeah, about how creative you want to be. So it's about you behind the camera. This is my last message. And yeah, if you want to see like more content from these two lenses, you can definitely also check out my photoshoot behind scenes from the 30mm 1.4 and also the Sigma 56mm 1.4. And yeah, what is your opinion on both lenses? Which one would you get? Would you rather get this one or this one? Let me know in the comments down below. And guys, thank you so much again for watching. Take care and see you next time. Bye.